All right, hello everybody again. This is Fred the Orca Man, and today I'm here with Kendra Nelson, also known as Intertidal Kendy. And Kendra, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, yes, I am Kendra, and I'm a marine biologist and just graduated in December. I have I lived in Hawaii for like 3.5 years getting my degree. I have a lot of experience with sharks and plastic pollution and invertebrates specifically. Those are kind of the areas where I just have had way more experience in terms of hands-on application of research and behavioral ecology and all that kind of stuff. And I now live in Vancouver, British Columbia, and
Represent.
with the focus of assisting with southern resident killer whale conservation. I have been very vocal about southern residents online since like 2018, and I've become friends with a lot of people in this community and with some organizations out here, and so moved out here and now just chilling.
Lovely. I would say that's the fun part about like right now too. It's very much chilling. Vancouver, for as small as our COVID numbers are right now, they're really cracking down. I know restrictions just came into new effect too, so that's going to be interesting coming forward. And
Yeah.
you graduated in December from undergrad, if I'm right, in
Yeah,
Hawaii.
my
Oh,
bachelor's of
wonderful, wonderful.
science.
Awesome. How long did it take you to do that? Because I've heard of bachelors going pretty like longer than 4 years sometimes.
Mine was only 3.5, so
Oh, damn.
I did 3 semesters a year. I did
Okay.
a fall, winter, and spring term.
Hmm.
And so I was able to finish quicker. A lot of students at my school would not do the spring term, would take off and go home, but I usually stuck it out and just did that semester. You had to do it
Nice.
eventually because some classes were only offered in spring, like coral reef ecology was one of those that I took.
Gotcha.
It's only available spring semester and
Interesting.
you need it to graduate. So, but I did it every year just because I wanted to get done.
Well, fair. Well, also too, I can only imagine if it was it the same amount of time as the fall and
It
the
was
other two
shorter.
semesters. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
No, fair. It's like a summer term. Also, too, like spending a spring term in Hawaii. That's not bad.
No, it
You
wasn't
could-
bad. And no one, and like a lot of students do leave. And so it's not a busy school, but like campus was emptier. A lot
Mhm.
of people just left. A lot of students just left to go home anyway from the other schools on island. So things were a bit more chill the spring semester.
More than fair, more than fair. I did one summer semester here, and it was interesting. Like it was the same kind of thing. Like UBC is a pretty busy campus, but when it dies down, it's special. You feel a little bit more at
Yeah.
home almost. It's a little bit more comfortable, without a doubt. Um, One thing that you've been posting a lot about recently that I've found incredibly interesting is like your journey with killer whales, right? Like there's a lot of us out there right now who's when it started, like we were children properly.
Yeah.
So what was the first, let's say, time that you can remember or you were told that you're like your parents either saw like, oh, you're really interested in this, or you recognized yourself, if you know.
Yeah. Sorry, there's a spider in front of me.
Oh no.
Hello, it's fine. I'm just watching it. It's on my chips.
Nice.
9 months old is
Oh
the
wow.
first time we have written down. My family lived in Texas. I don't
Yeah.
remember where in Texas. But that's where I was born. That's where I was adopted, was in Texas. And so we would go to SeaWorld. Okay, it's getting closer to me. Go
Oh
away.
no.
It's
Get
fine. It's smaller.
it.
I just flicked it. My cat will come get it. Anyway,
There you go.
um, but yeah, 9 months old, we went to SeaWorld San Antonio.
Hmm.
And in our scrapbooks, or I guess in my mom's scrapbooks,
Yeah.
it was written like Kendra loved the Shamu show, didn't want to leave. We had to watch everyone. And then we'd go pretty often. We always had annual passes. And so
Hmm.
other scrapbooks years after, I'll
Of
say
course.
something similar.
It's amazing. That's the one thing too, is like anybody that I've talked to that has gone down the path of like getting more into orcas, it's like as much as we're interested in other oceanic animals, there's a certain part to it where it's just like, oh no, we just didn't want to leave wherever we were. It's like
Yeah.
you go to SeaWorld, you're like, I can stay here for the day. That's fantastic. And then, because I would imagine too, if like even me as a kid, SeaWorld was the only place that I kind of associated killer whales with until I was like 10 or 11. Like when I was like 10 or 11, I got actually personally adopted, or my family adopted an orca for me from the Whale Museum. And I was like, oh, we know about them outside of this too. And so like that started my journey. I'll call it outwards. Um, was there a time where you were like that clicked for you, or was that more consistent thought?
I don't really know. I mean, I also grew up watching Free Willy, so it may have just
Oh yeah.
been an acknowledgement that
Mhm.
because from a young age too, I loved that movie.
Yeah.
And so it may have just been like a I don't remember there being like a moment of like, oh, they're in the wild too.
Well, yeah, for me, like I can remember for the accessibility was the one like biggest thing for me, because I can remember growing up and I was like, I want to be a killer whale trainer, and I was like, people see them outside every day, or like they can see them enough to keep up with them, and that was like it was a crazy thought, personally at the least,
Yeah.
which is fun. And so you started with Southern residents more. You said like paying attention to them, started posting about them in 2018. Was there a reason 2018?
That's just when I can like remember that I got really into it because I got involved with the co-extinction film crew
Oh, sick.
for the Southern Resident. Like they're making their documentary. It's
Hmm.
almost done.
Woohoo!
But I got really involved. I had kind of been doing my own thing with a bunch of different conservation efforts. I mean, I started out with plastics and sharks just because that was what I was involved in. And
Yeah.
then I was like, oh, wow, wild killer whales. Okay. In terms of like turning my attention to cetaceans again, because I just
Hmm.
kind of was like not sure. And
Fair.
then Southern residents were endangered population within the US. And so I just started posting and I followed different organizations and I had this like little t-shirt brand company thing that had like a Save the Southern Residents t-shirt. And so I got reached out to by Co-Extinction to like be featured on their website with the t-shirts and donating proceeds from those shirts to their film.
Cool.
And so that's when I just was like making more content specifically about killer whales. But I didn't
Yeah.
have like it was funny. It was mostly like story reshares just because I didn't have any pictures at the time of wild killer whales and I wasn't
Fair.
gonna promote a wild killer whale conservation project with the photos of captive whales that I have.
Fair. It's a little bit different. There's two very specific audiences that you're reaching out to for either one in my head.
Yeah.
Nah, more than fair. And also this one thing I found too is like whenever I look for images of Southern residents or otherwise, if they're not taken by me, it's like sometimes finding the photographer is very easy, and other times it's very like it's a picture that's recycled 15 times.
Yeah.
Very interesting from there.
Yeah.
And when you were in Hawaii, you worked with Four Ocean for a bit too, if I'm right.
One Ocean.
One Ocean. That's
Yeah.
the what's all right. So what's the difference between One Ocean and Four Ocean for?
Four Ocean is a bracelet company,
Yeah,
and One Ocean is a shark diving eco tour
awesome.
with um, a like conservation segment, One Ocean
Okay,
Conservation, where we did monthly beach cleanups all around the island.
that's awesome, and that's where you met Taylor, if I'm right.
Yes.
Nice, nice. For those of you who don't know, actually, you can talk a little bit about the podcast, the talk show that you and Taylor have going, because that's actually pretty neat.
Yeah. So Taylor is one of the safety divers and marine biologists at One Ocean Diving. Oh, this spot. Oh, is it dead? I think it's dead. Um, but she is a marine biologist, safety diver at One Ocean Diving. So she dives with sharks every single day. And she is one of my good friends. She was also the person over me in the One Ocean internship program. And
Cool.
so we got really close through that. But then she's also just been in the water with me around sharks, has her eyes on, keeps me safe. And so I
We
appreciate
love that.
that. And that she is a very dedicated biologist in that sense. That is not a job I could do. I am very easily distracted out there.
More than
Um,
fair.
and so I have a podcast, but then she has a YouTube channel. And so on her YouTube, we do marine biology movie club or movie night, um, where we'll watch a movie and then we'll meet up and like film about it and talk like what we liked, what we didn't like, if any kind of like funny corrections. Like we did Finding Nemo. And so we were just like, Nemo's dad should have turned into a Nemo mom because the mate died and that's how clownfish work and all that kind of stuff. And just other issues with like Like we're gonna do Finding Dory, and the biggest one will be beluga whale in Australia.
Question mark? Maybe not.
Whale shark in California jumping out of anyway, like funny stuff like that. Just like these don't make sense, but it's
Yeah.
okay because it's a kids movie. And so recently we've only done 2 thus far, which is Finding Nemo and Blackfish. The 2 coming up are 47 meters down and Seaspiracy.
Huge, huge. Little documentary, little fun. I
Yeah,
remember
we try
watching
to do
40.
every other to like buffer
Fair.
between something serious and heavy because the documentaries tend to be more critical, more heavy because
Yeah,
obviously they're made to be consumed from a more like quote intelligent basis rather than just for fun. Like Finding Nemo is going to
100%.
have errors because it's a kids movie and that doesn't matter.
No, it
No one's
doesn't.
checking what gender the sharks are like we are.
No, that's more than fair. Also, it's like one thing is that the documentaries are heavy too. Like there's a lot of mental energy that goes into sitting down for an hour and going through something like that. That's not the
Yeah.
easiest thing in the world. But I give you props for the Finding Nemo, Finding Dory, and 47 meters down. I've watched it once. And I can remember watching it and was like, okay, this is terrifying. At the same point in time, in the back of my head, with the little shark knowledge I know, I'm like, it's not how it works.
Yeah, the dive, the other issue that we really talked about was the diving, the physics and how wrong they got diving. And she is like a scuba, she's her scuba master and is a very experienced diver and was
Yeah.
we went in on the diving issues because they were a plethora. I don't even think we really
I
covered the
love it.
sharks that much besides just like, yeah, this isn't shark behavior.
That's more than fair. At the intricacies of like I'll call it the proper mechanisms, at least for the diving. It reminds me, you remember the movie Flushed Away?
Yes,
Or
I
like
have not
Flushed
seen that. Come here, little spider, I'm gonna kill you.
Away.
Sorry, it's alive, it's not dead. Die.
Oh no.
I'm really
Get
sorry I
it.
have to kill you. My cat's somewhere else.
That's too
All right,
bad.
it's dead.
There you go.
Sorry,
There you go.
audience.
No, it was either Flushed Away or Ratatouille when they were in the sewers. And my cousin, he's an engineer or like works on plumbing systems. And he looked at it, he's like, they got this right. Like for one of them, I forget which one it was.
It's one of
I
those things you're
remember
like,
watching it, I'm like, really? Of all the things.
yeah, I've definitely
Uh,
done that with movies. But yeah, with the shark, like a big one now is like shark behavior. I'm always like, that's wrong. Mm.
Man, well,
Even
it's
like
such a trope.
influencers diving with sharks, I'm like, you're not being safe. And it's very frustrating because there's just very obvious and issues that are going on and you're just like
Mhm.
oh, and with dolphins as well, people who dive with dolphins, I'm just like
Yeah.
that dolphin's being aggressive, that's not cute, but you're
So
gonna go
sad.
viral, so like whatever.
Well, the one you posted a recent video on TikTok that was like calling out, it wasn't calling out. You mentioned that an influencer who posted a picture, like the picture was photoshopped and you could
Yeah,
tell one by her, but two like by the sharks themselves.
yeah, well it was a big reason I noticed was because the photo is like a well-known stock image, so I
Yeah.
was like I'm like 95% sure this is a stock image. Past that, the proportions of the photo were wrong, and I've seen like the very well done photos by the One Ocean photographers. So I was
Of
just, and
course.
it was literally no shade, but I took it down because people were upset. But I was just,
Oh.
it was just funny because I was
Oh
like,
yeah.
oh my goodness, like I get it. Like sometimes the photos aren't pretty, Viz is bad. The sharks, there's like 2 sharks.
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't have big like schools of sharks
Of
a lot of
course.
times. I mean, I've been in there with 2 the whole time, like for a whole hour. And then I've had other dives with like 60. So there's
Yeah, it's
a
insane.
variety. And so if you don't get the picture you want, you
Too
gotta
bad.
edit it apparently.
Yeah.
And so it was just funny. But yeah, I was like, those are sandbars and the way like how small she is and how big, like this isn't how it looks, but it's fine.
Well, like you said, like that's funny. Like it's not to put anybody down. It's like do what you need to, and it
No,
does
I was
well
like,
at the end of the
she had
day.
a great post. I mean, there was recently another TikTok well, I guess just a TikTok influencer that went out
Hmm.
and created a very untrue, crazy, like what is the word? Clickbait videos, and that I
Oh,
called out, and he ended up messaging me to take it down because he was whatever. But basically where he was like, I was swimming and snorkeling and then I got swept away and was surrounded by sharks and then I was saved by a boat. But in reality, he went out with One Ocean and the whole time was, and I knew about it before the
Okay.
videos because one of the safeties had like said something to some other people about how there was this weird influencer on their boat who was like filming with his head out of the water, like yelling. And she was like,
God.
what? And so we kind of knew, and then he made those videos and I called him out and so did one of the other safety divers.
Fair.
And then he started getting backlash and took the videos down and was like, I'll post a better one, like actually saying what I did. But it was like damage could have already been done. I know it seems really small, but like you really created a situation out of nothing. Like you
Yeah.
were safe the whole time. You had one of the paid safety divers in the water with you who has spent years doing this. And the whole point of the dives is to teach people that sharks aren't monsters and aren't there to get you. And then you make a video that seems like they are.
Yeah.
That was kind of where it was like, dude, like you did not listen at all to what is taught on the boats. And so it was just, but it was funny. And he's like 18, so I took it down. I just sent him a long message like, dude,
Be better.
be better. It's okay, but be better.
Damn. You hate to see it though. That's the kind of stuff where you sit down and you're like, crap. But I commend you for catching it at the least. It's not the easiest thing to do
Yeah.
at the end of the day. Also, too, you have like one of the best, I'll call it marine bio followings that I've seen on TikTok. When did you start?
I think I started in 2020, no, 2019 when my lab I caught an octopus for our lab. And so I started like
Sick.
posting videos of her because she was funny. And those like I got like 40K views on a couple of them and I was like, wow, I'm hot shit. Um and then I did not post for a long time after
Fair.
that.
Yeah.
And or like I just post for fun where I was just like, oh, my cute kitten, look how cute he is. Oh, I went to like Washington and got engaged and like posted that last
Nice.
summer. And then I started like posting more regularly probably in July of 2020
Okay.
or August while I was in quarantine in Hawaii. And
Hmm.
then it just was like, oh, I know a lot of people want to do this field, so I'm just gonna start posting stuff about it and answering questions because there's a lot of things that are misunderstood about the field,
Fair.
or people are really intimidated or their parents say it's horrible, whatever. That just trying to dispel and part of it too is everyone's like, there's no jobs, you don't get a job after graduating, and I'm like, there's no major that guarantees you a job day after
Yeah.
graduation. It's all on you. I mean, my husband's an accountant and he
Hmm.
struggled, and like accounting is, I feel like, one of those majors people are like, oh, there's so many
You're
jobs.
fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's like it matters what you do, and the part of it is a lot of people just go to school and get their degree. And so I wanted to share, you need to be proactive the whole time, and that's how you get into this field. It isn't just your degree. And
Definitely.
that's a lot of the problem. That's the mentality, because a lot of other degrees kind of work that way. It's your grades that really set you apart. You don't need to maybe have a ton of relative experience in terms of a job or internship. They're
Definitely.
always encouraged, I think, in every field, but I know a ton of people that never did an internship in their major and had a job pretty easily.
Yeah.
And so I was like, that's not the case for this, for STEM, and especially for environmental science,
Oh, without a doubt.
badly, but just to encourage that and bring more attention to it so people can get into this field, but with a realistic idea of
Well, that's
what to do.
more than fair. I think the realistic is the biggest thing. It's it's one of the most romanticized, I'll call it,
Yes.
degrees that I've seen.
Well, and I definitely played my part in that. I'm also a free diver,
Yeah.
and so a lot of my stuff is from my free time. Like
Hmm.
most of my underwater videos are from free time.
Yeah.
I I dove like every week, sometimes multiple times a week, and I also
Nice.
was like, "Oh, look at this animal!" and I'd pick it up and make it into something marine sciencey, but it wasn't for my job. Which people were
Yeah.
like, "Your job's amazing," and I'm like, "This is not my job. It's a part of my life, and
Yeah.
like it applies to what I do, but it is not my job. I'm not paid generally to go diving. There were a few times I was to film stuff for online COVID school,
Nice.
um, where we would go out and film labs. Me and my
Okay.
coworker and my professor, we'd go film a lab and then put
Oh,
it
sick.
online for students to feel like they were there.
Nice.
So I was paid this last semester I was in to go out in the field, but like once
Gotcha.
a month. And it wasn't always fun. Like we woke up at like 3 a.m. one morning just so we could hit low tide. And
So
my
great.
professor almost drove us off the road. And we like legit were like, okay, we almost like died right then. And then we got egg burritos and it was fine.
There you go. That's a nice little tip at the end of the day.
Yeah. But I was like, it's not even then, like it was fun, but I came home and that was one of the days I posted, I think my first video that got 1 million views. I literally
Oh,
came home.
sick.
I was like, oh, I told people I'd make like a field work day video. So I made a
Sure.
field work day video and then I made one that was like, welcome to marine biology TikTok. And it was like all aesthetic stuff. And then I took a nap for like 2 hours and I woke
Nice.
up and I had like 40,000 new followers and the video had, I don't even know how many views.
Sick.
And I was like, what happened? I literally spent 2 minutes and the video that I spent like, I want to say 30 minutes making, which was my field day video.
Oh yeah.
Like I woke up at 3 a.m. We drove in the car, like a
Yep.
day in my life. That one had like 1,000 views. And I was like,
Yep.
are you kidding? The one I threw together got, that's always how it works too. But I was just
Oh,
like,
that's like the crux of TikTok.
yeah. So I was like, cool, awesome. And that's when I think I hit 100K from that video.
Nice.
And I was like, wow,
God
thank
damn.
you.
It's like I'll take that.
Okay.
No, more than fair. I can remember in the beginning when I first started, because I started in like January, and I spent for the first like 10 or so videos, each one took me 2 hours at least. Because I was like, I'm gonna think through it, I'm gonna try all these things.
Yeah.
And then there was
It's
one
not a
day where I
think
like,
through platform.
no, it's not. I was lying in bed one day and I was like, I was spewing off whatever thought I had. And that one was the one that ended up doing well. I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
okay, I
it's
need to
very
think less.
finicky and that's where I'm like, I'm not even gonna like try and I make some videos that I'm like, oh, this has thought into it, but then I'm like, whatever. I know that video is gonna get like, obviously it'll hopefully hit my core audience that are there
Yeah,
for information, but a lot of people are just like,
100%.
pretty video, follow. And then
Easy.
I'll lose followers and they're like, oh, never mind.
You're not just pretty videos?
Yeah, I'm
Terrifying.
not, I am no longer in Hawaii and I haven't dove for months, so I don't have new footage to show people.
Well, that's the thing about the app too, though, is like I've found is like reposting is an easy thing, and then more than that too, like it, I don't know, it will take what you throw at it at the end of
Yeah,
the
I've
day.
had some
There,
people comment, be like, you shouldn't post so many of those welcome to marine bio TikTok videos. And I'm like, that's how I get followers, people. They're gonna be here. I'm still gonna do them. I
of
know they're
course,
annoying because I do them like, I've actually slowed down just because there haven't been good audios to do them to. But I'm
fair.
like, that's what gets people here. And
Yeah.
sorry, that's part of my mojo is getting people here and then getting them to stay.
No, there's a duality to it. I remember like there was one that I posted recently. It was a Harry Potter one. I saw the video of the dude who put a sword in his hair and like kept it up as a bun. And that one was for shits. That one was like it was 10 o'clock at night, and I was like, oh, I can put my hair up into a wand. This will
Yeah.
work. And it did, and then I like it was the same kind of thing. I fell asleep and I woke up. I was like, really? It's like of all the ones, and it was
Yeah.
like a crap quality too.
Well, that was my the shark exposing one.
Yeah.
Both of them I just made thinking like no one would see them. For
Hmm.
the one where I was laughing at the one female influencer we were talking about, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is just funny. And I know this, like I also work in digital marketing, and so I know this picture.
Of course.
I have used this picture when I was
Yeah.
in backgrounds of like Instagram stories and stuff
Yeah.
for my marine science club on my
Hmm.
campus. And so I was just like, I just know this photo, and that's how I noticed. I don't think most people would notice that this was a very photoshopped image.
Yeah.
And then it got a ton of views, and I was like, okay, that was not my intention. And then people were going onto her page and like tagging me, being like, you were
Oh.
exposed. And I was like, no, don't
No.
put my freaking name. No, that's not what I'm doing. I literally, and plus she had even tagged the person who edited it. So I don't think it was supposed to be a secret that I was
No.
like, I don't think she cares that it's photoshopped. And she tagged the guy, and if you go to his account, it says photoshopper. So he's very clearly aware of what he does.
More than fair.
So yeah, I was like, people.
Just
And then
funny.
people were like getting mad and they're like, why are you taking down another, why are you degrading a woman? I'm like, I wasn't, there's nothing. Oh my gosh.
Why don't you actually fucking read?
I said no shade, and they're like, no shade, but throw shade. And I was like,
Oh, come
whatever. But it was like,
on.
it's innocent shade. If someone did it to me, I'd think it's funny. I'd be
Yeah,
like, yeah, I've definitely edited some of my photos, but they're very obvious because obviously I'm not surrounded by like nets all the time.
a fair,
And so I'm
fair.
like, it's part of it. I haven't like she's an influencer. Get your coin. I understand that. I have no issue with it.
I
She had a
know,
great
100%.
caption too. So like calm down. So then I just put on private. I was like, whatever. My friends can see this now.
There you go. I like with those kinds of things, like when I'm already thinking, trying to think ahead for like any situations that might occur. If anything like that happens, it's like anyone shouldn't care unless it's the person talking to you.
Yeah.
Like unless I hear it from her, like whatever. Like it
Yeah. I
doesn't.
was just like, I don't think she cares. Like and people were commenting on our post far before I even saw it. Like, dude, this is photoshopped. Someone who is like an editor was like, the light composition is off, which it was. If you like
Oh
looked at
yeah.
it, it made no sense. And so he was like, you don't even need to like understand, like have seen this photo before. A ton of editors will see it and be like, dude, why didn't you pick a different picture? Like this doesn't look cohesive.
Fair.
So I was like, I'm not the only one calling her out. So
It's
whatever,
okay.
it's fine.
I'll bring it back to Instagram. Congrats on 10K. I saw that recently.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, just a little fancy.
You know,
No, it's wonderful. I would say like online content. I gotta say you also have one of the best link trees that I've seen, or like
thank you.
otherwise. Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
I switched to like a different platform because Linktree was not my favorite,
Fair.
and one that involves like I could put my podcast so it looks cool, and I could put the YouTube video at the top.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that was a good switch. And then it allows me to put like if I have like a referral link, I can disclose it right then. I can put the code you can use. A lot of times people will forget, which I
Yeah.
liked
Fair.
because Linktree was, unless I think you pay for it, it was very, very basic,
Oh,
which is
100%.
fine, which is fine. But I
Yeah.
liked this one for like other purposes, like disclosing referrals and codes and whatnot.
No, it's huge. It's huge. The aesthetic, you've got like the aesthetic down too, I gotta say. I
Thank
feel like that
you.
was like curated a little bit over time, but you've like really, really hit it. That's one of the things I'm definitely most impressed about whenever I look through your stuff.
Thank you.
It's always fun. Of course, of course. All right, so to bring back to SeaWorld for 1 second, because you have some information that I think is more interesting than almost anything else. Oh, a little bit frozen. I wonder if this is gonna fix itself. Yes, it fixed itself.
Thank you.
Um, so you were in San Antonio, or you were going to San Antonio for a little bit, and then, if I'm right, you moved to Arizona and then started going to San Diego.
Yeah. San Diego is like the Mission Bay pod is the pod I am most comfortable with and understand the best,
More than
besides
fair.
Takara at San Antonio.
That's
But
your.
that's because she stems from Mission Bay. So
That's more than fair. So, well, like one thing I can remember in the last podcast, even you and Taylor had, was like you were talking about learning about the whales, like each of the whales themselves. Like I know you brought up Corky before, at least on my page, and you've talked about a few other ones. But how was like how as going as a guest, so to speak, how did you get to learn the individual whales or get to something like that?
yeah, so at San Diego, as you like are walking into the stadium, they have little posters for each of the whales. So it'll say like Orchid, Makani, Ikaika, Keat, and it will give like a little like sometimes their birthday or like a fun fact about them. So for
Cute.
Makani, it's like he was born on Valentine's Day, and that's his little
Aw.
fact. Orchids is she's was the first baby Shamu at SeaWorld San Diego. I believe that
Mhm.
is hers. All that kind of stuff. And so
Gotcha.
that's how kind of got exposed to the names. And then talking to trainers, they'll mention names and be like, oh, this is so and so, this is so and so.
Fun.
And then just doing more research and kind of learning more about each individual whale because there's tons of sources online. Like I
Yeah.
think Orcapedia has each of their profiles. There's other sites that will go into each of their profiles and pictures and how to ID them as well.
Oh, it's huge. I would say I've tried to dive into a little bit of the like the I'll call it the online databases or otherwise to learn a little bit more, but like you said, even there's always a couple.
Yeah.
It's like if you want to piece together information, you got to go through like 4 of them, and you're like, oh, okay, I think I kind of get it. So that's more than fair.
Yeah.
How much? So SeaWorld San Diego is the one that I always went to as a kid. I haven't been to Orlando or San Antonio, just because my mom's side of the family is all from California.
Yeah.
Um, how many of the trainers, or I'm gonna ask a specific question. When it was, I think 2009, 2009, I went and the Believe show was going on, and I got to be the kid from one of the shows.
I did that too
It was
in 2007.
oh crazy. That is so special. I'm one of the things I'm looking for with that show. I want the wetsuit. Like more than anything
Oh
else,
yeah.
I want that wetsuit so bad.
I've seen, so I think that the parks still have every wetsuit, but
Okay.
I have seen some people somehow get their hands on them. And I am
Interesting.
not, I think there's some kind of like sale they do with employees or something. But there
Hmm.
are some people that have the different wetsuits from even other shows as well, like the
Okay.
old dolphin shows.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I'm not quite sure how that works, but I would also like one.
Yeah, I get because I started surfing in high school, and so I started like getting into wetsuits a little bit more. And I can all like that was the one that stood out in the back of my head no matter what. I'm like, that's one of the nicest wetsuits that I've ever seen, at least visually. It's so striking.
Yeah.
Um, but the trainer that was there, it was trainer Art, I believe. I wonder if you like if the name sounds familiar, or if you like
No,
how
mine
you
mine was trainer Matt.
trainer Matt. Okay,
And I don't really know anything about when I was younger. I
gotcha.
know trainers now.
Oh, fair.
And I know like there are some that were there growing up, and like I have pictures of them
Nice.
from then and then even now.
Cool.
So, but I didn't like know any of them like super personally because I was like a kid who
Yeah,
was like,
yeah. I'm just showing up and enjoying myself. More than fair. More than fair. Yeah, I've been one of the things I've tried to do recently is like I know some trainers will have a little bit of platforms or otherwise. I don't know if you follow Hazel McBride. She's
I
out of
don't, I know her, but I don't follow her.
okay, fair
She
enough.
has called me a hater before. It was very
Oh
fun.
no. Why?
It was resolved, but basically
Okay.
when J50 died, or when it was either J50 when she died, or when like Princess, Nisa, and some of the 3 individuals all were missing
Okay.
during a super pod. And so then we were like, oh, they're dead.
Gotcha.
She like didn't share, but then she always would post about how captive whales are ambassadors for wild whales. And so I replied to a story basically saying, well, why don't you talk about the southern residents? And she basically reposted it. It was like, haters always say this, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, okay. She's like, I have post planned in advance. And I was like, yeah, I do 2 misses. Like, that's not like,
Events
if you're
happen.
gonna claim they're ambassadors, share with your audience. And I think she had like the 10K followers then.
Yeah.
And so I was like, disrupt your schedule. It's really easy. And so I basically, then I like messaged, I was like, I did not, it's not hateful. I'm just genuinely saying maybe. So then it was resolved. It was
Yeah.
fine.
Gotcha.
Um, but I do laugh at that. But no, I don't follow her. I did message her after Skyla's death though, and I did say that I hope she was doing well, because I know Skyla was her first whale she worked with, and she
Yeah.
has like a necklace of for Skyla. So I messaged her and I was like, really sorry for your loss, and I hope you're okay. I thought of you when I saw the news, just to
Yeah.
like say like condolences.
Of course. Well, because and that kind of thing, I think even just acknowledging that relationship is something special at the least. And it's like, if you've said this multiple times, even just through this talk right now, it's like it's just you're not calling anybody out. You're mentioning shit.
Yeah,
At the end of the day. At the end
yeah,
of the day. It's not meant to harm. It's not meant to it's not meant to hate.
yeah. So like I'm fine. I don't follow her, but like I know I'm like it's fine. But
Nice.
that's just a funny interaction I have had with her that I was
No,
just
more than
like,
fair.
hey.
More than fair. Yeah, I one of the things too. Have you ever been to any parks outside of the States?
No, I
Resorts?
have not.
Fair. Because I can remember I was watching I was going through like I was going through an orca rabbit hole on the internet one day, and I came across the movie Rust and Bone, and I saw the Marine Land of the or yeah, Marine Land Antibes, like their park. and it's the most interesting like setup that I've seen in terms of like the stadium setup, because the glass is like 15 to 20 feet tall.
Yeah.
Like it's
I think
massive.
that they technically have the biggest killer whale enclosure in the
Really?
world. I think that the new Chimelong breeding facility will beat them out
Yeah,
in China, but as of now, in terms of like per gallon size, Marineland in France does have the most
crazy.
volume and most
Yeah.
aquarium.
Well, the room is one thing I can remember, because like the thing that I'll tell anybody when they're talking about killer whales or like going between a captivity, I'm like, there is there's a couple things. One, it's like there is only a certain amount of time left. I sincerely believe that you will be able to view a killer whale under the water without having to be wet or breaking any laws.
Yeah.
And like the just the pure humbleness that you feel even just standing and like understanding the size is something special that you don't get practically anywhere else like on a whim. And if you do, you are one of the luckiest people in the world, or you're just out there all the time. It's like one of the two.
Yeah.
It's really the breach between. No, that's fair. Um, one of the things I've gotten into recently too is like the histories of around here. So like the captures, and then more than that too, like the start of a lot of the research.
Mm-hmm.
So you've talked a lot with, I'll call it this, so like Southern resident community, and I'll say that as like co-extinction film. I know they have connections with everybody. I know you were with PNW Protectors for a little bit. Is there a researcher or a person you met that like you met them and you were almost taken aback? You were like, oh, like I've read about you or otherwise.
I haven't met anyone yet
Okay, fair.
out here. There are definitely a few people that I am hoping to eventually, but I'm also kind of um I am more interested in terms of like research, and the brunt of my time in invertebrates and like
Hmm.
killer whale conservation is definitely like a passion,
Fair,
and I'm still doing it,
of
of
course.
course. But a lot of other people there's a lot of people I've looked up to. I mean, I didn't even know some people existed that
Fair.
were like famous in the marine science world, like Ocean Ramsey's one, and I
Okay.
met her before I knew who the hell she was, and I was just like, oh, this is a very cool skinny blonde lady. And then my friend was like, you met Ocean? And I was like, didn't know her name, but I guess I'm in a picture with her. And she was like, this is Rod. And they show me pictures. And I was like, I have no freaking idea who this person is. And then now she's like my friend, and I'm just like
That's
kind of
fantastic.
missed like a fangirl. I have one like kind of fangirly picture, but that's because I took one of my friends to a cleanup and she loves Ocean.
No,
And she
do
was
it.
like, get in a picture with me. And like I had to get in there and like do the awkward like
Yay.
and I was like, I kind of know who you are now, and I think this is cool, like, ooh. But
Yeah.
I was like, okay. But now I like friend, mentor.
Cool.
She's yeah, but past that, I think like Ken Balcom would be someone I
Okay.
would like to meet and talk to. Alexandra Morton, who
Yes, definitely.
her new book is great, but she also worked with Corky, which I'm just like, hello, I love Corky. Um, yeah, there are definitely a lot of
Nice.
people that I think I'd be like very humbled to meet in terms
Yeah,
of the impact they've had on killer whales.
definitely. Definitely. Alexandra Morton, I haven't gotten her book yet. I need to order it. I've been like dumbed down with assignments, but I think I have to like right after this I'm gonna have to. Because I also too I was watching, it wasn't Beneath the Surface. No, it definitely wasn't. What was it? Um Beneath the Sea, I think was it. It was the name of it. It's like a
I was like, Beneath the
19
Surface is a book.
Beneath the Surface is a book.
The book.
Um that's Hargrove, right?
Yes.
Yes. Um
Good book, bad person.
Cheers. I haven't read it yet. I have a good library, but I don't have
It
that one
is a
quite yet.
very good book, but if I could, I would punch him in the face.
Fair.
Um, but very good book, very beautiful, very deep into working at SeaWorld and having a relationship with a killer whale. Like he explains, I don't know if he wrote it or if a ghostwriter wrote it.
Yeah.
Either way, it did a very great job at fleshing out his relationship with Takara. I mean, the book's
Okay.
dedicated to Takara.
Yeah.
And he also worked at Marineland France.
Okay.
Um, and he had actually worked with Shuka before she was transferred to SeaWorld Ohio and then SeaWorld San Diego.
Okay.
And that whole pod, actually, he was one of the first people to train the employees there how to do waterworks. And so he talks about that.
Crazy. I would be really interested to like read that specifically. The
Yeah,
waterwork is
it's really
something.
good. I mean, he also talks about his waterworks being in the water with whales, talks about like the individuals. I think he talks about Corky a bit. Kasaka is mentioned. Well, Kasaka has to like to Kasaka is Takar's mom, so she's of course brought up.
Yeah.
And then in the end, he does talk about what he had heard about Don's death from one of his friends who was Don's best friend at SeaWorld Orlando. And so that chapter is very sad.
Yeah.
But very good because it shows like the parks were all immediately notified of what was happening, and every park pulled trainers out of the water within like half an hour of it happening. And then since that day, no one got back in.
Yeah. That's one of the I can only imagine what it must have been like to be at any of those parks during that day. Like that had to have been something different, to say the
Yeah.
least.
So it's very good book. I would definitely recommend finding it on thrift books. But yeah, he's an
I'll keep
interesting person.
I'll keep my eyes out. I know I want to check. There's I don't know if you've been down to San Juan Island, but there's
Yeah.
a nice. There's a little. If you ever get the chance to, there's a little thrift. It's not a thrift. It's like a used bookstore. It's called Serendipity, and it's like this little old fair. It's this little old house that looks like it's like out of like a fairy tale.
Yeah.
But you walk inside, and the entire first floor is filled to the brim with books, like cabinets, kitchen sink, like everywhere.
That's cute.
So I'll have to check out. There's a little whale section that I'll always go to. I got a number of these, but my best purchase was the one on the bottom here. I got Nemu by Ted Griffin,
Mm-hmm.
and that was
Whidbey Island has a little bookstore that has killer whale books. That's where I got Of Orcas and Men and Puget Sound Whales for sale.
nice. I have to go check it. I haven't been
But
down to
Whidbey's
Whidbey
where
yet.
Puget Sound, the pen code captures happened, which I think is why they always carry that book on stock.
That would make
It's like part of
sense.
that history.
Yeah. There's a lot of places that I want to go up and down. I know I want to hit Pender Harbor at some point in time. Like just like the history down this coast is absolutely insane. The more I
Yeah.
look into it, and it's just I'm interested to see the places because it's just.
Whidbey has a small like dedication to the captures
Mhm.
in a sad way. That sounds like in a bad way.
Yeah.
They have a piece of art of like it's indigenous art of killer whales, and then you
Yeah.
go into there's a little like shop on the end of a dock that has like a mini whale museum kind of thing where it basically just shares information about the Pen Cove captures.
Gotcha.
And I think it specifically talks about Lolita or Tokite and the continuing battle with Miami Seaquarium to bring Tokite back.
Yeah.
And then it has
Uh,
like a little video, but I also was there during COVID, so it may have more that I
Fair.
never saw because COVID.
Well, I'm pretty sure the Langley Whale Center is around there too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's like there are things that are available, but that's more than fair. I would definitely want to hit it at some point in time soon. I actually met somebody on TikTok who spent a lot of time down there, so hopefully I'll maybe even get it in.
The border opens.
Oh, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
That'll be
Say, I
very
think
nice.
I actually just got my tickets. I think I'm gonna be going home in a little bit. I'm very excited. It's like first time in a good while. Good while. I've spent a lot of time in Vancouver. I gotta say, of all the places to get quarantined or like have to stay, this isn't bad.
Yeah,
This
it's
place
not
is kind of
horrible.
nice.
I mean, we were. I know that we all just it's back on lockdown for like 2 weeks, and
Yeah.
sadly, all the ferry tickets to Van Island are sold out, which I'm very sad about because I wanted to go tide pooling this weekend, and the conditions
Oh,
were decent.
fair.
It's fine. We weren't on top of it and didn't get ferry tickets. That's the life that I have to realize that I am in right now, especially once the border opens, getting out to San Juan occasionally to explore. I want to go back to
Yeah,
Whale Museum and the shops and all that kind of stuff. And eventually, when Co-Extinction does premiere, possibly go to the premiere.
that would be
The
fantastic.
hope is that we can do it in Friday Harbor,
That would be awesome.
but
I don't know if you
COVID.
know. Yeah, COVID. No, Friday Harbor. Like personally, that's like I'll call it my college trip. It's like, have you ever seen How I Met Your Mother?
I think my parents
Fair.
watched it like crazy. So I've seen like bits.
Fair. There's this one bit where like Ted and Marshall will go down to like, they're like, all right, we're driving 8 hours. We're gonna go get like pizza in Chicago, and that's like they're like once a year they'll go do it. For me, like I'll round up a group here. I personally don't have a car here, so every time I go, I have to rent. But when I do, I'm like, this is can
Kidnap a
be.
friend with a car.
Well, I see. I've done that once, but I only have a very few amount of friends here with cars. If only because a lot of my friends are also
I have a car.
cold.
The
Whenever you want to
border's
go
closed.
down. Next time you go though, Haley's Sports Bar and Grill, you have to get the nachos.
Okay.
It's the number. If there is the Whale Museum's great. Don't get me wrong. The nachos are the reason that I get people to
I know
go.
there's a jerky place that sells shark jerky, and my friend has gotten like blocked from them on Twitter and sent like a cease and desist email for posting about it. And I was that's all I can think about. And I kind of want to go and look. I probably won't do anything, but I think it's so funny how it went down. There's a lot of like, I think I got ice cream while I was there at that little ice cream shop, like right by the ferry or by the docks.
So cute. Yeah. No, there's the two, because there's the little one that's up as like solidly up in the one main road.
Yeah.
And then the
very
other that's
small.
literally lined up. Oh yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot to do, and once the border opens, like I want to go back to a lot of places.
More than fair.
But yeah.
When was the first time that you went to Friday Harbor?
Last summer. No. That's a lie.
Nice.
That's such a
Okay.
lie. 2
Oh,
summers ago. Last
gotcha.
summer was when I saw whales. 2 summers ago is when I went. And I went and did a Washington trip with my parents. We went to Forks. I love Forks. I don't like Twilight, but I love Forks.
Okay.
And I did not know at the time, but one of my really good friends, his mom is actually the author of Twilight. And I was like posting about going to Forks and like just like joking about there's so much funny Twilight stuff there too. We did like the Twilight Museum. It was hilarious.
Oh my god.
And
I didn't realize there was a museum.
I went, it's like one room.
Oh god.
But we went to like a restaurant then, and then we saw there was like an aquarium, and he messaged me. He's like, hey, I see you're up, like I live up here, we should hang out. But I was like, I'm literally like it's family trip, I can't do that. And then a year later is when I was like, someone asked me a question about him, and I was like, oh my gosh, is his mom the author of Twilight? And I texted him. He's like, you figured it out, because he doesn't tell people. And so I was like, I'm so embarrassed that I was like posting and like whatever. And anytime I post about Twilight, I then like have to joke, because some of those movies are definitely comfort movies, and he'll be like, you're welcome.
Oh my god.
So I love going
hysterical.
It's so funny. But yeah, and then he also loves whales, and so
that's huge.
That's also something, like he's out there, so I want to go down and like do whale watching and hang out. And like he's super involved in like cetacean stuff and marine science. Sick. And so it's very funny then. But I want to go back down once the border opens. I have other friends, and like we want to go do like land-based whale watching is one thing. Like
100%.
Just go sit down and like
wait for hours. Yeah, that's the wave.
But it's all just about the border opening, because if the border was open, I would definitely probably be down in Washington quite a bit, in terms of like just going to see friends and go to those places and do like mini road trips to like go back to Whidbey for one, go to like Langley, and try to do like another Friday Harbor, go whale watching and all that kind of stuff.
100%. Also too, like it is so easy. Like from here, like the trip down to Seattle is like, you can do Seattle's a day trip. Like you can do it.
Yeah, it's not so far. Simply. I mean, we live like 30 minutes from the border. And then past that, like you're at Gig Harbor. Gig Harbor is super cool as well. Like there's another like aquarium I want to go visit at Gig Harbor. Sick. And it's not far. I mean, I told my friend, I'm like, when the border opens, we're doing Target trips, because Canada is awful for not having Target. How dare they? I miss it. And so I'm like, we'll go to Target, and then like, I don't know, whatever, like Pike's Place is something cool as well. I love like the small shops there. Yeah. And there's a honey stand that I really want honey from, because I love like charcuterie. We're off the topic of whales, but I love charcuterie. And my best friend that lives in Seattle is like a master charcuterie board maker, and there's this honey place that has like the different flavored honeys. It isn't a thing here. I've checked like every store. and I've been trying to find like a local like flavored honey for like evergreen honey, lavender honey, and all that kind of stuff.
Vancouver just
So
isn't there, isn't
yeah,
it for it?
definitely missing that.
No, that's fair. The one thing that we have that the States doesn't, though, is the one Krispy Kreme in all of Canada.
I need to find it because
It's
I
in
am
Delta.
quite disappointed by the Tim Horton options.
Oh no,
I know it's
no,
criminal,
you
but they are
can't, you can't.
not, there's not a
No,
lot.
there. Well, it's not a lot, and it's also like it's not good. Like Dunkin' Donuts is better, has better donuts, which it pains
Which
me
is
to
saying
say.
something.
It is.
I'm
It
fine with the
really
Timbits. Like I can appreciate getting Timbits while we're driving somewhere because like
fair.
I like the birthday cake ones, but like donuts, I'm just like,
They don't do it
you
well.
guys don't have a lot and they're not that good.
No. All right. So
Not even like
plug
a
for
plain glazed. Anyway,
yeah, no, fair. But like to plug a couple donut shops that you need to try here, then
yes.
Lee's Donuts on
Okay.
Granville Island, 100%. They're so great. It's dangerous. There was like a part during quarantine in the past couple months where me and my buddies would go like once every 10 days. We're like, we're gonna pick up another dozen this week.
Well, that's perfect. You got to support like small local. I mean, that's better than, I mean, Tim Hortons is good. Like, we'll get it when we go every week and we try to like go adventure and we'll stop and like grab
Nice.
breakfast
Yeah,
because it's
easy.
cheap and it's like, I don't want to cook in the
Yeah,
mornings.
fair.
But I'm also like trying to find like local shops. Like, I love macarons. And so I found a
Okay.
couple like little, and obviously it's not hard. A lot of French people are here that finding really good cafes has not been hard for me
No,
as
they're
compared
everywhere.
to
Dime a
from
dozen.
Arizona. There's like nothing. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is different. In comparison, there's not a lot of good taco places that
Oh,
whereas in
fair. Not
Arizona, I'm like drowning. And so just getting but that was one like I definitely need some more donut options.
yeah, yeah. Lee's, Krispy Kreme, and Lucky. Lucky Donuts is another. Lucky is like it's like a really artisan donut place. It's like real. It's like the kind of place you go like I'm gonna get one because it's
Isn't there like a
fancy
shop in
donut.
Portland that's like that? That's like well
Probably.
known for being like
Oh,
fancy, cool
Voodoo.
donuts.
No, maybe Voodoo would be my one guess. It's
I
the only
think that
donut
yeah,
shop
no,
that
I
I would
think that
know.
is my aunt lives in Portland and I think she's talked about it.
Fair, fair.
Um,
I'm excited to go down to Oregon again. I went once. I went I went once in 29 like fall of 2019 for an AJR concert. And the only reason we went to Portland is because I didn't buy my Seattle ticket fast enough. So I
we
was in there. I was there for like that night. Like we got there at 7, the concert started at 7:30, and then we left at midnight to drive back up.
oh my goodness.
It was a
We
long
tried to do Cannon Beach engagement pictures during
day.
COVID,
Ooh. Okay.
and we forgot that 4th of July was a holiday. And so me and my now husband and my best friend drove down to Cannon Beach from Seattle, which is like 4 hours.
Yeah. It's not
And
small.
she's immunocompromised, but we were like, oh, like it shouldn't be too busy, COVID restrictions and
Of
whatever, and it'll be
course.
fine. It was so freaking busy. And we were all so uncomfortable. Like, couldn't even find parking. And people were walking around,
Uh,
no mask. We were just like, Oregon, what? And then we were like, why is it so busy? And we looked at it, we're like, oh, it's 4th of July tomorrow. And we had just
oh, crap.
forgotten completely. And we were like, that makes sense why it's so busy. And so
Fair.
I felt really bad. I was like, we can go, we can find something else. We tried, and the beach was just crammed. And I was just
Damn.
like, oh my gosh, we were literally so deep into like just forgetting that the 4th of July was a holiday.
That's fair.
And we drove home and watched Hamilton that night. We were like, okay. It was
That's
like
fine.
that night Hamilton was coming out, and so we
Oh,
stayed up.
huge.
But it was very funny. We were just like, what?
It happens. It happens to the
That's my
best of
only
us.
experience with Oregon.
That's fair. I'm like, everybody's in quarantine, planning out their next trips or whatever. I want to go up. I want to see a bunch of the orca, the historical orca spots in Canada, but I want to go down to Oregon for the Free Willy spots because
Yes.
there's a couple in Astoria that are like
Oregon
I'm
also
so
has
excited.
Twilight spots for fun
Oh,
facts. A
what
lot of
about
Twilight was filmed in Oregon. I know that because the like if you've seen Twilight, the Cullen house, which is like that
oh
ugly
yeah.
mansion, is in Oregon.
Really?
And people will go, and you can't go in obviously, but like people will go take pictures outside of it. I jokingly want to do a big Twilight trip, but also a tide pooling trip is my big
Okay.
thing because like I'm big into invertebrates, and so
Yeah.
there aren't tide pooling spots that I have found on mainland BC thus far.
Fair.
And the island's is supposed to have a ton, and then Washington has a bunch, and so does Oregon. Oregon is also really good for tide pooling, and so eventually
Okay.
I want to go down and just hit as many tide pools as I possibly can, because I miss my little creatures.
Hmm.
No shame to
Fair.
charismatic megafauna, but I miss my little fauna.
What's your favorite little fauna?
Echinoderms, so starfish, sea
Okay.
urchins, sea
Nice.
cucumbers are at the bottom of my favorite echinoderms.
That's
But I
fair.
don't mind sea cucumbers. I think they're funny. I like to pick them up because they look like poop. Well, they look
Fair.
like poop in Hawaii. Here, I think they're like red and different colored. The ones
Interesting.
in Hawaii are all like brown and literally look like a big piece of poop.
Fun. I would say I can only imagine like a novice marine biologist going down and finding some actual shit and being like, "Oh my god," and then be like, "No, by the way."
Yeah. And there's not really tide pools in Hawaii either. There kind of
Mhm.
are, but it's not the same as cold water ecosystems. Obviously, I
Yeah,
mean, cold water ecosystems are have more life in comparison to tropical. When you
definitely.
break down like all the difference, that sounds crazy. A lot of people think that's weird, but that is
No, it
true.
makes
Like with,
all the sense in the world
yeah, like you think
when you look
of
at it.
all kelps and algae species, and then there's all the different invertebrates that live in tide pools. It's crazy, and then fish, megafauna, all that kind of stuff. That there, it is more rich in life out here,
Hmm.
and I want to experience that.
Fair, fair. And I feel like as you go north too, like if you can get up to northern BC and even Alaska, there's got to be some crazy stuff up there too. Bering Sea is special with that.
Alaska, I have a friend that studies killer whales in Alaska, and
Sick.
she has a ton of like tide. She hasn't gone tide pooling in a while, but
Yeah.
she used to go out pretty often, and it's so freaking cool. All the sea stars. I'm just like, look how colorful they are. Look at how beautiful.
It's insane too for such a freezing, cold, dark kind of place. And it's bright during when it is bright, of course,
Mhm.
but otherwise when I think of Alaska or like once you start going properly north, it does get darker as I go up in my head at the least.
Yeah.
Is there a place that you're like, I would really love to tide pool here that you haven't yet?
Van Island. There's Botanical Beach is supposed to be really, really good.
Okay.
And so trying to get out there. And there's also a new, I wanted to get out there in April at some point anyway, because there is a new like killer whale exhibit opening at the, I think, Victoria Museum or something.
Yes, 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 yes.
And then I know a couple
100%.
people out there too that are divers, and it's not dive season per se, but
Yeah.
just to kind of get out. And there's a lot of students out there that are studying marine science at UVic that are like, let's go tide pooling. And I'm like, yes, but there's the ferries are full.
More than fair.
So I
I gotta wait.
can't this weekend.
Fair enough. I'm waiting. I once I go back home, I made the very dumb decision of leaving my wetsuit back at my house in 2019, 2020 Christmas. And so like I'll go to Tofino. I haven't been to South Beach yet, but I'm trying to. But even just getting back in the water on Van Island, it sounds wonderful. I'm excited
Yeah,
for it. It's gonna be nice.
there's very
Um,
pretty pictures.
oh
And
yeah.
people also will go out and like catch their own crab to eat. And I'm like, that's so cool. Look how big that crab is. How did you catch that?
One of the guys that I was talking to that I got on for this podcast earlier, he used to live on San Juan. He lived on San Juan Island for a little bit, and what he said was like him and his dad would like before school go out and like set crab traps, and then like he'd go to school, his dad would go to work, and then afterwards they'd go out and pick him up and like have crab for dinner. I'm like, that sounds
That
like the
sounds
life.
very yummy. That like, okay, thanks for rubbing that in. Yeah, I saw a picture of someone with like a huge, I think, Dungeness crab, and I was like, oh my gosh, how do you catch? Like, what do you do? And they caught it free diving, so I was like, wow,
Oh,
how do you grab it? Look how big that thing is.
that thing is like half the size of you.
It's not like spearfishing where like, oh, shoot it, and I'm like,
That's
what
it.
do you
No,
do?
you have
Oh
to
my,
grab it. I don't know. I'm interested. As soon as you find out, I'm interested to hear if you let me know.
yeah.
Because I can only imagine the process that goes into it.
I will have more. I will have videos to post when that happens.
Without a doubt. One of the questions that I have too are like, for me and the audience at this point in time, what is tide pooling? Because I have an image in my head and I feel like it's not what it actually is.
Okay. Um, I don't know like if there's like a definition, but for me, like strapping on my rain boots, which are of course bright yellow,
Nice.
and trekking into like tidal zones, which is
Okay.
just You can find stuff kind of anywhere. I know White Rock has kind of some stuff. We found crabs and whatnot, but
Cute.
tidal zones are generally somewhere that, depending on the tide, is either
Mhm.
fully underwater or will be like partially
Yeah,
exposed
yeah,
to
definitely.
the air. And so, for tide pooling, you kind of got to check weather conditions, what the tides are doing, how high or low you want to go out with low tide so
Hmm.
that you can find more. You can go out with like semi high tides if you have like big boots or like those big, like, I don't know what those like overalls are called,
Yeah,
um, and get
waterproof ones,
messy
whatever.
and dig in and try to find different critters. And
Sure.
like the goal is to just see like what's there. Like you can find nudibranchs. There's always lots of crabs, echinoderms, which are your sea star sea urchins. Some people will tide pool and like find their sea urchins and cut them up and eat them right then.
Oh,
I've
neat.
never eaten a sea urchin. I have no idea if they taste good, but apparently they taste really yummy. And we have a plethora here. And so it's no issue if you grab one and take a little snack.
Yeah, fair.
There will be lots of kelps. There's sometimes going to be fish. I think, oh my gosh, what are they called? Sculpins. They
Interesting.
look
Okay.
like scorpion fish from Hawaii, kind of.
Okay.
And so they have, actually, no, they look like this other fish, not scorpion fish. They look like this other weird fish. They almost look like they have like little wings they like sit on. There
Interesting.
was like a viral TikTok of one a while back, and they can
All
be
right.
like bright red sometimes,
That's
depending on where you
sick.
are, but they're
Yeah.
weird looking fish.
Okay.
They'll be there, and yeah, just kind of looking for creatures. And it may be really boring to a lot of people who do not care for little invertebrate and fish species and even kelp, but it can be quite fascinating too. You can also find octopus, you can find different kinds of creatures all over. I think out here you can even find ctenophores in tide pools, which blows my mind.
I say the ecosystem here never ceases to surprise me. The more I learn
Yeah,
about it, the more like broad that I realize it is.
there's that.
Oh, it's insane. It's insane. I also took like this last semester, the one before, I took actually a class with Jason Colby at the University of Victoria about like the history, like environmental history of the Pacific Northwest. So even looking up and down at like properly from here, like I said, to the Bering Sea, I think that's where like my mind was really opened up to that whole stretch of like Alaskan and northern British Columbian coastline.
Yeah.
Just fucking fascinating. It's
Yeah. I have a
insane.
friend who works as a fisheries observer in the Bering Sea.
That's that's
Yeah.
special.
And yeah, we took him out whale watching and he got very seasick. So, and we made fun of him the whole time. We were like, this is nothing. We're
Isn't that
like
your
going to
isn't it
line
job?
kiln and you're like getting queasy. You're going to have fun.
Oh, fair,
But I think
fair.
he's adapted, but it was very funny. We were just like, you're going to have a lot of fun on that boat.
Oh
That was
yeah,
so much fun.
you'd be on there for a while, and the Bering Sea is not as nice as here, to
No,
say the
we
least.
were like, this is, and the whole time my friend's dad was like, this is nice. Look at the conditions. Like it's kind of choppy. And he's like, it wasn't horrible, but he definitely was like, I am feeling seasick. I'm very grateful I took a pill. And we were like, you're gonna need a lot of pills if you're
You better stock up, sir. You got a little journey ahead of you.
Bering Sea is quite different.
Yeah, yeah. I want to make my way up. There was one TikTok that I saw recently about people who did Alaskan surf trips. They were like went out on boats to some remote places, just went surfing, stay on the boat for the whole time. I want to try to see if I can do that come this fall, if COVID allows. But that kind of stuff too is like, oh, so
Everything
special.
pending COVID.
Everything pending COVID. There was so I saw a post today. It was like UBC official memes, and they posted something like, "Due to the increase in recent cases of yeah, due to the increase of recent cases in COVID, um, UBC has determined not to go back to in person until 2023." I was like, ho. And then I was like, okay, let's read. And I was like, UBC official memes, number one, posted. Number two, today's April 1st. I was like,
There you go.
that's special
That'll do it.
there. That'll do it. That'll do it. That's for context, kids. You gotta read everything. Don't take everything with a grain of salt at that rate. Too good. All right, so we're just inching up on an hour, so we'll wrap it up for right now. Kendra, I cannot thank you enough for coming on here. Before we head out, do you want to plug your TikTok, your ads, whatever, all the things that you do?
Oh, thank you. I'll probably just tag. I prefer Instagram for a platform.
There you go.
Intertidal Kendy. And then I do have my podcast, not to compete with you.
It's okay. No,
But
not
Intertidal
competition.
Talks, I try to talk to different people in the field. My most recent episode is very popular about Seaspiracy, where I talked to a fisheries scientist.
Woohoo.
We talked about our issues with that movie. And then Marine Bio Movie Club from Taylor Casey Diving on YouTube. That is very fun. And she also
Woohoo.
just posts other content if you like sharks and diving and whatnot. But every other Monday, so I think this Monday coming up, there should be a new episode.
Huge.
So keep an eye out for those every other Monday. Got 47 meters down. We have Seaspiracy, and then we are going to be doing that mermaid mockumentary from National Geographic
Oh, fun.
next. It's so stupid, but it's called Mermaids, a Body Found or something. And people on TikTok have been spreading videos from it thinking it's a real documentary. So
Nice.
we're going to watch it and laugh and be like, this is entirely fake. Mermaids aren't real. And just talk about that. It's a very funny documentary though. It's made to be fake, but people don't realize it's fake.
People need to read for those contexts. Take everything with a grain of salt, people. Come on.
Yeah. So that's where I was just like, that's what I want to plug is
Love it.
those things.
Awesome.
But yes, thank
No,
you.
of course, definitely be sure to check those out. In terms of podcast competition, there is no such thing. There is no such thing as too much marine bio TikTok. And right now, if anybody wants to get onto this one, if only to hear about all of the donuts that Vancouver has to offer and the cool things down the coast, that's good enough.
Yeah. Well, and that's I think there's a lot of different niches to fill. I can't speak. To fill in this area. I mean, different podcasts talk about different things, and as long as I feel like you're not directly copying everyone who's interviewed, it's fine.
Yeah, at the end of the day. Well, thank you so much once again. I'm Fred the Orca Man, and have a good one. Wonderful. Bottom.